What's going on, guys? This is Skyhound, also known as Geek Archivist Pierce. If it wasn't clear already, I am going to be going over at least a quick summary on Volume 1 of Magic Knight Rayearth, which obviously turned 30 today. But in Japan, they're a day ahead, so technically it's a little late. But if you guys haven't watched my quick analysis of Volume 1, I'll put the link in the description below. But as you can see, I'm also going to be going over the anime a little bit as well. And if it's not clear, yeah, decided to dress up a little bit for this. But before I forget, if you like what you see in here, please hit the like and subscribe button. It at least helps the channel. Now, before I forget, let's go over the differences in format. The manga is about, I'd say, this much, covers that much. And anime happens to cover moments in ways the manga doesn't. On top of that, you also have fillers, which is different from how the events play in the manga, but can sometimes provide context. Now, I apologize if the quality of the recording isn't as good. I try. That's all I can do. But anyway, Season 1 is 20 episodes. Season 2 is 29 episodes. But the difference being, Season 1 starts roughly at near the end of 1994, continues on into early mid 1995. Now, with Volume 1, I did cover it once, but there's a few additional things I'm going to cover. While it does cover episodes 1 through 3, part of episode 4 is covered in 1, but most of it continues into Volume 2. Now, considering it's 20 episodes, I do want to point out there's a few things. I'm just taking this from another website here. Give me one moment. Okay, now as you see here, taken from Anime Planet, it's another one of those database type sites. Here we see who plays which character. You have the Japanese ones as well as English. If it wasn't clear before, I did meet a couple of them, or at least a few, of the voice actors. However, since it's a database, I know something this one does not. If you notice, this one, it doesn't mention who it is, but I mention it on my previous analysis. Any guesses as to who is missing on here? If you said Sandy Fox, you're correct. Now, how to add that on there, I'm not entirely sure. But as you can see, you have at least the Japanese voice actors on one end, and then English on the other. And obviously, not surprised. She was actually the first one that I met, Barbara Goodson. Just refer back to my previous analysis. And these are some of the others who play the following characters. Some I know, others I don't. One thing that is clear is that on at least, I would say, the first half of it. Let me just go to the episodes here real quick. So I'm not going to be reading over each one, but one thing that I found really amusing is when we get to episode 5, for example, as the girls are trying to get the Escudo ore, what's amusing is Makona's leading them to it, but all they see is a line. And it's pretty much showing that's flat, like this. Or at least if you're looking at my wall in the background, it's pretty much a straight line. And they can't find it this spring, if you will. It's not until you have to look at it from a different angle. And then Hikaru is able to put the whole thing together. Now, what they face is actually pretty interesting. Because when it comes to challenges, sometimes you have to look inward. Other times it's what's lacking, depending on how the story goes. But it's things like that, those details, I find are actually more compelling compared to what some shows over in the States try to do. So what does that tell me in terms of writing? Other countries can tell better stories than Westerners. Yeah, I'm going that far. Now, with regards to episode 5, basically, the negative emotions, or at least the fears that they face in order to get the Escudo, it's pretty interesting. Fu has to face her own self-doubt. Umi has to deal with supposed negativity or backlash from her own parents, who she's trying to get the approval from. And in the case of Hikaru, it's her pet dog. Of course, they learn a few new spells and eventually run into Alcyone, who tries to trap the girls there. but is unsuccessful. Now, there are a few interesting bits of information. In near towards the end of season 1, we learn a bit about one of the characters named Cephiro in terms of his background. And on top of that, before I go any further on the character, I want to point out some differences here again, and what's covered. Take, for example, episode 7, which is known as Sutami no Ferio Sabaku no Koi, Ferio in Desperation, A Romance in the Desert. That episode covers, I'd say, maybe 4 or 5 pages in the manga. Difference being that some of the dialogue that's in that episode, in the manga, they're still in the forest. And that's not the case in the anime. So again, that's one difference right there. Now, in terms of their weapons, how it relates to their willpower and their emotions, those weapons, their swords, in this case, they actually evolve. So, in this case, episode 7, Fuz is the one that undergoes a change first. And then sometime later, eventually, how do I put this? Umi's is next. I mean, later. Hikaru's was next. And then Umi is third. So 7, 8, and 9. That's when the swords change a bit. And then as they go to get the rune gods, the armor changes as well. And also, before I forget, I finally remembered the name of that one character who is similar to Tetra and Tarta. Her name is Caldina. And while each episode does sort of like kind of act as filler, some of the chapters for each volume cover some of those episodes in like, I don't know, 3, 4 pages. While it starts slow, I'd say around I'd say 11 onwards is when it starts to slowly pick up. And one thing that's interesting is that episode 18 is where we learn a few things. I mean, not 17. Yeah, it is 17, not 18. I was thinking 18. It is 17 where we learn a few things on some characters. Now, when it comes to the fire rune god, or Mashin in this case, the difference between the form for this one versus what you see in the OAV. The OAV is a separate thing, an alternate universe, if you will. And on episode 18, when Hikaru goes to revive it, we see in the subtitles she's thinking it's a wolf or maybe it's a lion. I'm like looking at the face of it, and it's more of a triangle. The lion's is a bit more different in terms of features, so it's definitely more of a wolf. Now, besides that, again, I'm just only going over bits and pieces of it and describing some differences. But overall, if I had to rate it, story-wise, at least objectively, maybe 7.5 out of 10. Subjectively, I'm going to give this one, at least season 1, a 9 out of 10. Now, before I forget, there was an announcement during this month. And I figured I might as well play it and then translate the Japanese writing thanks to the help of a friend of mine. So, one moment. Okay, so here is the promotional video for the announcement on the 30th anniversary of the anime itself. Really beautiful artwork. Hikaru Shido, Umiri Yazaki, and Fuho Oji. I like how they tried to show bits of the anime and like the format on showing it. Now the way how they did this animation though for Cephiro, beautiful. With Makona on there, on the little logo. Now you're probably wondering what exactly is the writing here. Well, let me help you out. So at the start of it, let me go back a bit. Here. So this first part, it translates as Kuramp ga tekageru densetsu no isekai bokentan. Bokentan. Sorry, I'm tripping on that. But the translation is the legendary story of the adventure in another world that Clamp made. Then from there, this is what comes next. So I was only able to read this part and then the 30 years. That's about it. This is the one that kind of messed me up. But thanks to my friend, I'll just read it the best I can. テレビアニメの放送から30年. So it's been 30 years since the TV anime aired. And then this part right here. 再び彼女たちに会える. Translates as, you can meet them, in this case the girls, again. Now, when I was watching this, I knew that they tried putting in Magic Knight, but you don't see it as well at first. Let me show you what I mean. Right here. So I know the quality's not as good, but it reads it right here. Magic Knight. Because you can only see the word Rayearth, but unless you're looking very carefully on details, it says Magic Knight in there. Now here's another thing right here. If you notice that the color scheme is a little brighter, number one, for the characters, and if you take a look at Fu, some instances I know they're trying to have her as a blonde, and it's more prominent on the manga art. Other times, if you look at this, it looks kind of like, I don't know, dirty blonde or brunette. By the way, brunette is more the color in the OAV, if you've watched it. Now, if you compare it to how she looks here, give me 1 second. Here we go. It's definitely more prominent that it's a brighter blonde, like the natural color. Now you're probably wondering what was the text at here. Well, let me read it to you guys. So the synopsis on this is, while on a field trip to Tokyo Tower in 1993, three eighth grade girls, Hikaru Shido, Umi Ryozaki, and Fu Hoji, meet by chance. After hearing a girl's call for help from the illuminating gleam outside the window, the girls find themselves transported to the other world of Cephiro. Guided by Guru Clef, they embark on a journey to save Cephiro as the Magic Knights. And before I forget, that last bit you see on the bottom, right here. Thanks to my friend, it's translated as Shin Anime Ka Projecto Shido. Now, I want to be clear. The last name for Hikaru, both names sound the same. Meaning, however, is a little different. It's this part right here. The writing for those two, totally different. FYI. But yeah, that's just the promo video for the new project that's being worked on. So, what exactly does that mean? If I had to guess, if you've watched Sailor Moon Crystal and then also watched what came after that, it is more in line with the manga. So, with that little clue, that's just my guess. Are they going to cover it manga style or at least following the lines in the manga. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, that's just my general take. Again, with some analysis of the anime itself for Magic Knight Rayearth. With that being said, this has been Skyhound, also known as Geek Archivist Pierce. Stay safe, stay sane, and as my friend Orange Hat would say, stay humble.